back here. Cut that down a little bit. You may be kind of seeing what I'm doing here. Let me come up kind of so you have to be real careful not to get too rambunctious when you're doing something this way. Let's go ahead and get on to the head again. Go ahead and work on that. Work on our, and as you know, I take it and come on both sides, and I bring this up like here, and I cut this down here like this. All right. All right. Okay, let's go ahead, cut that little slot there for the shoes. If we need to do anything later, we'll just cut that little. And that one there, you want to be careful because that's thin in there. All this stuff is small and thin. And I cut that as well. Okay. Well, you probably see my hands sweating. People say, well, you ought to go inside. Well, I don't have a setup inside there. I used to. Remember, I used to do it all inside the thing, but I always liked doing it outside a little bit. There we go. Okay. Okay, let me come on both sides and bring this up a little bit. Bring this up. As you can see from both sides, I begin to make my little situation here. Okay, and let's go ahead and come up here, and I'm doing that on both sides. See how I make the thing so that I can go ahead and put my nose somewhere about right there. I simply cut up. And of course I always cut the nose back later. And I kind of, for right there, I just leave it sort of like that, in other words. And then I draw, as most of you know, I draw a line here, go across, all the way across where I can have my ears. And then I come from the inside of the face, cut that like that, and come over here and see, maybe a little bit like in there. And I make a little cut just like that in there. And then I make a little cut in there. Okay. Now, as you see, this is too big, of course. But like I said, even if it's a little too big, I can always bring that down, just like I'm doing right here. See? I can bring that down, but if I cut it off too much, then I can't bring it down. Let me kind of look at both sides a little bit. I'm going to have to bring this side back a little bit. There we go. Da-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Alright. I draw a little line right here. Now I make my ears a little bit bigger so that I can cut them and bring them the way I want them. Come behind them and come up here, and I've got my ears that I can cut back like in here, and I do the same over here. And I make them bigger, folks, so that I can then cut back on them before I work on anything else. Now these are small ears, so you really have to be careful how you're doing this. But your knife is close, and you want to be careful. Okay. And then we cut back on the ears right in here, for sure. Okay, now naturally the ears have to be cut back on. I'm just going to be a little cutting in there. And then I kind of take the tops of them off. And the bottom's at an angle. And the same thing right here. We just sort of and then I come and I take the bottom off and top a little bit, and I bring them down. Look at both ears. And I'll cut those, like I said, cut those down, cut a little bit in there. I know it's hard for you to see. Just sort of shape them a little bit. And we've got our hairline up here, which I want to make another cut. I want to cut back a little bit so that I can have a little hairline in here. Okay, and I'm going to bring that nose down a little bit more. I know it's hard to see when there's such small figures. And let me come up next to the nose and make kind of a concave here. And then we take, and of course the nose is going to have to be brought down. Cut a little edge line in here, and we cut a little edge line in here. Main thing is you want to be careful with that knife, because you are working in small spaces, and you can hit a bad place in the wood. See, if we bring that down in there, that nose sticks out, really it's sticking out too far now. We're going to put a smile on this guy's face. Okay, got a little smile on him. Let me come a little bit deeper in there and we're knock that little smile. And we want to come up underneath here and dig a little bit deeper to bring that chin out. There we go. Look at my nose. My nose is off just a little bit. Cut a little bit right in here. Kind of flip this nose on both sides just to kind of give a little edit there. Okay. It kind of comes down and we're going to come back here and we're going to make a little cut to give that part here in the see how I'm bringing the nose down, but I'm you know, I've got room to bring it down. That's why I cut it bigger than normal. Like I said, if I cut it too small, then it's not going to be very, you know, you can't bring it down too much. Miss bottom, there we go. See that? And I just come with the eyes to give a little. When they're this small, we don't try to do too much detail in the eyes. We just make a cut. And then kind of brace it here with the nose. And I know this is kind of hard to see, folks. I can see it, but I know it's hard for you to see it. We put the little eyes in there. Okay. And back here, of course, the back is going to have to be brought down just a little bit for the hair. There you go. So that kind of gives it a look. All right, see that? Okay. Now, I need to bring this down just a little bit. So it kind of rings with the arm, just like that. And take here's my V-tool, and I make a little indentation right here. There it goes. Looks like the arm. Now, let me explain to you what we're doing here. Okay? Now I'm going to bring this part, kind of, see what I'm doing? I'm just barely hitting that just a little bit to bring that to a little. Basically, you really got to be careful in that situation there. Basically, this is sort of a palm up type deal. Okay. We kind of, and I'm gonna put my finger right there, and I'm just gonna kind of dig that a little bit, okay? Now, I think you pretty much got an idea of what I'm doing here. Okay, here's the books, all right? He's gonna be standing on top of the books with a book in his hand, okay? Like that. That's what's gonna happen. Now, let me get my V-tool and hit some areas in here a little bit. Let me open that up a little bit. And same thing right here. Now, we want to come across here where the shirt and the body meets. You cut that a little bit right there. Okay. And we want to add just a little to that. Okay. And we want to come up here and dig in just a little bit in here. There we go. Where the hand is. And we want to dig in just a little bit right here where the hand is. In other words, kind of get in like, get in right there. In other words, get that out of there. Okay. Now, I'm also going to come in a little on the side here. Go, just take a little bit off there to give us that look that we want. And let me come up a little bit underneath here. So there's a little tweaking that I need to do, but what we need to do is make a book that's going to fit in his hand, okay? We've got to, I need to take a little bit off of this right here too. We want to make a book that's going to fit in his hand, okay? Okay, and what we can, of course, make the book this big, because that looks ridiculous. That's too big, in other words. That's what he's standing on. All right, and we want the books that he's standing on to be a whole lot larger, because, you know, that just sort of gives an idea of what. Now, I've done it where he's looking down at the book, in other words, but he's just going to be holding it this time, in other words. I'm not going to get in. That's a little bit more challenging to the carver, and this is challenging enough to most people, to get in that small and stuff like that. So we'll just have him looking ahead. All right, now what I have to figure out is, well, what we have to figure out is what size book we want in his hand, okay? And I'll show you how we're going to do that. We're going to measure the hand, and the hand is basically across, it's about 1/4 inch across. So if it's 1/4 inch across, we want a little bit of the book sticking out on both sides. So we want the book to be probably 3/8, something like that, in other words. And that would be the length of the book across from the hand itself. So we're looking at a very, very small book and a very, very thin book that he's going to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to cut us a little book, and I'm going to bring it back, and then we're going to shave it down to fit this hand, okay? In such a way. All right? Well, I'm going to go do that, and then I'll come back. Thank you.